Hello everyone, welcome back to another Train Sim World 6 video, and today we are on a route I have not played in a decently long time. This is the Island Line 2022 by Ryde Games. By far, Ryde Games' best product that they ever made. It is only 8 miles long, making it the shortest route in Train Sim World alongside the Island Line 2020, and all it is the linear stretch of track from Ryde Pier head down to here at Shanklin, set in the year 2022, with the rebuilt Viva Rail Class 484. And you'll probably notice that's not the normal livery that comes with this route. Ryde Games, unfortunately, were unable to obtain a Southwestern Rail license, so the normal included livery with the Class 484 is a ugly fictional one with no Southwestern Rail branding. There are two ways you can fix this. Number one, with a Creators Club livery, which would work on consoles as well as PC, or the method that I've gone for, downloading the Island Line 2022 enhancement pack from the Train Sim community website. That and all the other mods that I use can be found listed down in the description in a collection. So, yeah, we're doing a full run from Shanklin to Ryde Pierhead. Should take around 26 minutes-ish. And yeah, let's get started. So we do not have a lot of time to get this thing set up. So master key, reverser, doors. Gotta remember, yeah, I have not driven this thing in a bit. TPWS. So all of you can come on, and then we want instruments, and no DRA. Yeah, Rivet do not, a classic Rivet, classic indication of a Ryde Games route is that it does not, of an old Ryde Games add-on, is it does not give you a lot of time to set the train up. Why are the headlights on the rear? Hang on. Shut off. Oh, really? Where's the vigilance? Vigilance. DSD off temporarily. Go to the back and set you to tail. And now give it some welly. And cut the DSD back in. Yeah. Oh, I forgot, when you reset since the core update they did a few days ago, resetting the camera no longer resets the view. So next stop, Lake in 0.8 miles. I believe it's an all stops run today. Are we stopping at Smallbrook Junction? Yes, we are. Normally, in real life, we would not be stopping at Smallbrook Junction unless there is something going on the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. But Smallbrook Junction is solely used as an interchange between the regular Island Line and the Island Line 2022. Island Line and Isle of Wight Steam Railway. Yeah. I must say, this route has aged quite nicely. The scenery is mid in places. There's the lighting engine is, of course, the old version. I am using live weather, I did forget to say. Okay. Since this is an underground train, it does have quite overpowered acceleration and braking, so you do have to be careful. We are arriving early into Lake, which is nice. Okay. Full service brakes. Yes. Oh, crumbs. Slow down. Come on. Forgot how slowly this thing brakes. Ah! Nailed the stop though. Goodness. Yeah, we do have 50 seconds. Lake is quite a small station, I must say. And the reason I'm on the Island Line 2022 today is because, funnily enough, the Class 484, despite running nowhere else on Earth apart from on the Island Line, is getting a layer on another route. It's layering onto the Great Western Express remaster but it's going to be painted in a, what is it? In a London Underground livery representing what it used to look like as the London Underground D-Stock. So, yeah. Reduce power switch. We don't need that. Yeah, the doors do take a bit to close, I gotta say. I think I should probably shut the doors. Thank you. Right, notch 4. Here we go. Yeah. Let's see. I'm at notch 4 of 7, and look how fast this thing accelerates. Right, maximum beans to Sandown. Oh, I do like driving on this line. It's small, linear, but what it also is a lot of fun. I might actually, at some point, do like a full shift stream, start off at Ryde St. John's Road at a specific time of day, and then, oh crumbs, that was an abrupt gradient change. And then just do like a full shift in Class 484, and then park it in the depot. What I would... it's a bit sad that this is the... Going on to a different subject. It's a bit sad that the 484 is the only D-Stock rebuild in the game, because Viva Rail have done it... Oh, crumbs! That's a 15 limit! Sorry. I do apologize. Oh my goodness. Oops! Oh no. Oh dear. Where was I? Because there are a lot of other weird and wacky Viva Rail D-Stock rebuilds. There's the... Thinking of a couple of examples, there's the Class 230 in use by... I think it's Transport for Wales and Greater Anglia? But I might be confusing the Greater Anglia one for a different member of the class. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not even sure what these spur lines are for, since they aren't electrified. No train could use them. There aren't any diesel trains on this line. Anyway, what was I thinking? Oh yes, I would since the Class 230 in use by Transport for Wales is actually used on the Borders Railway in northern Wales, that'd be a good route to see in TSW. There's also the one-off... Is that... Or did I get it wrong? No, the 230 is the one in use by... It's the one-off that was made by GWR. That for battery train testing purposes. That was only ever going to be the one prototype. I think, yeah. I get the members. If you didn't already tell, I do get the class members a tad mixed up from time to time. Yeah. So yeah, there's the GWR D-Stock rebuild, which is the like D-Stock, which was used on the Greenford branch as a battery testing train, and actually holds the world record for longest time a battery train has been tested for. I think it's well over 100 miles that it went on a single charge, which is pretty impressive. I think it went Paddington to Reading and back on a single charge of the batteries, which is really impressive. And from what I've heard from GWR personnel is that the battery materials and like the chargers themselves, you only need, for the Greenford branch, there's only ever one charge point needed it was at the Great Western Main Line terminus, which I cannot remember the station name for, I do apologize, but yeah, and then it could, while I was at the platform for 5 minutes before waiting to go back to Greenford, it would automatically slot itself into the charger and then it would basically be it would top up the battery just enough to give it a full charge, and then it would do the Greenfield branch, come back, and recharge again. It was actually really cool, and the battery components, they were just like off the shelf, pretty easily obtainable. And the research GWR are doing from that means that they're going to try and electrify their older trains, so like the Class 150s, the 165s, the 166s, the 2 GWR brand X Transport for Wales Class 175s could be electrified as battery electric trains, which would actually be incredible, since a large chunk of the GWR network, despite a decent effort at electrification, does remain unelectrified. Most of the Cornish Main Line, the South Wales Main Line from Cardiff to Swansea, the Oxford Line is currently in the process of being electrified. Yeah. Oh. Another 15 limit sneaking up on me there. Hopefully I have enough time to cram on the brakes. Looks as though I have. There's the 15 sign there. Another thing I like about the Island Line 2022 is it has superb performance. Basically 60 FPS for the whole run. Also, viewers, recently there was a new DLC, and I know this is a completely different subject, it's not even Train Sim World. There's a new DLC released for SimRail, the Polish railway simulator, and recently that SimRail came out for consoles, but namely this Xbox Series X and S. I do have a poll currently going. Would you, the viewers, like to see some SimRail content? Because there's not too much of it around. Let's have a look. One nice thing about braiding is braiding signal box actually the old braiding signal box actually has a modelled interior, and it even has one of the collectibles, a Dino plushie. Yeah, I think this is the second modelled signal box interior after Finnentrop signal box interior on the ancient Ruhr-Signord route. Alright. Would you get out of the... Thank you. That guy was standing in thin air right in front of the cab, and then when I said, would you get out of the way... I started saying, would you get out of the way, please? He just vanished. Typical NPC shenanigans. Oh, man. Yeah. At this time of day, i.e., like off-peak times. On peak times, there's 2 trains running on the line, but off-peak times, there's just 1 train running back and forth all the way from Ryde Pier head to Shanklin. Look at the NPCs glitching through the bridge, by the way. Typical. Anyway. Right, and we're off. I do like the sounds on the 484. Alright, Smallbrook Junction in 2.5 miles. That must be there's some... Yeah. On the Island Line both Island Line routes, all services stop at Smallbrook Junction, despite the fact that Smallbrook Junction, as I said before, is only used as an interchange for the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. But I do like having the additional... Oh! Did you see that? The third rail was generating sparks. And I believe this is the only route in the entire game which does that. There's also a... If we have a long stop at a station, I do want to show something else. Which is also... Well, was unique to this train, but has also been done by one other train now. Right, come on. Right, maximum beans. Oh, wow. Very rapid acceleration this thing has. There's also, not as well as the horn. Oh, pantographs, third rail sparks. There's also a depot whistle. But yeah, I try to avoid using the whistle since that is for depots only. Yeah, I have actually never acquired the original Island Line route. That actually was before this route got almost entirely revamped from scratch for the Class 48 and before the Class 484s came in. And the rolling stock on the 2020 version is the Class 483. For some reason, instead of the maroon livery that the 483s carried, they actually, for some reason, in-game carry a Network Southeast livery for some reason. Which they did carry, but only back in the 1990s. Which is very odd. I don't get why that was done. Because, yeah, I do remember why now, because back in 2020 this route was also under Southwestern Rail jurisdiction, and that means no real liveries because they couldn't, Rivet couldn't license them, which is a giant shame. But yeah. The Class 483s were, of course, much two-car versions of the 1938 tube stock in use by the London Underground until they retired them. When the I don't believe any 483s have survived into preservation. I have seen 1938 stocks in preservation. There's one at the London Transport Museum, and then another in drivable condition at the London Transport Museum's Acton Depot, I think. But I could be wrong there, so please do correct me if I'm wrong. 900 yards to Smallbrook Junction. Anyway, where was I? The 483s, at the time of their retirement in 2022, were the oldest running trains in the entirety of Britain at they were pushing 70 something years old at that point. Don't want to do the math in my head. So yeah, you'll just have to forgive me for not quoting an exact figure for you, but yeah. Oh, here's Smallbrook Junction. Let's keep slowing down. There's no AI on the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. When this route came out, as of right now, there's actually no appropriate stock for running on that line. Unfortunately. So yeah, they could have at least like put in something static, but while it is modeled, it's just not usable in any kind of state. Anyway, so yeah, where was I? The Class 483s were well over 70 years old when they were retired. So yeah, ironically, the train that then became the oldest commercially running train in Britain was the 1972 tube stock currently in use on the Bakerloo line of the London Underground, which is another kind of tube stock, ironically. And the Bakerloo line stock is still the oldest stock of its kind. Oh, sorry. Commercially running stock in Britain. And it's not slated for replacement until at least the mid-2030s, by which point they will be well over 60 years old, which is somewhat insane. And they're not, and from videos and photos I've seen, they don't appear to be in the best of condition. Let's just say Transport for London is not the best at keeping their trains secure. Yeah. But what I mean by that is, of course, Transport for London is very bad at keeping graffiti vandals off their trains. Like, their trains, no matter if it's ancient, new, well, somewhat new. Well, I think, like, the newest tube stock on the network is, what, like the 2008 stock on the, I should say, Victoria line? Anyway, and Transport for London like, no matter how old the stock has, like, there's so much graffiti on those trains, it's not funny. It looks absolutely hideous. And I'm not saying I'm not against graffiti. I think in certain areas it can be a... Oh, old semaphore signal. It can be a good art form, like just look at the preserved sections of the Berlin Wall. But, like, it's just it's just hideous. On trains, it's just hideous. Though, mind you, there's not much graffiti on trains in TSW. The only graffiti case I could think of is actually on the Cargo Line Volume 2 HOA aggregates wagons, which does provide, in my personal opinion, does provide some much needed variety from the almost omnipresent cleaned stock we have, which is understandable since in a video game licensors would want to have their stock presented in the best light possible. Yeah, welcome to Ryde St. John's Road, by the way. Yeah, so here's where the rest of the Class 484 clan lives. So what have we got on the back? We're running 484002 today. Let's see. We've got 001, 004, and 003. So that, I believe that's all four... Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's all 4 members of the Class 484 family in one shot. There you go. That's your fun fact for the day. Yeah. I do like the 484s in-game. They are a great unit, and I do believe that Rivet Games did a great job on them. Apart from the physics, which I believe are a bit overpowered, but honestly, it's not too unbelievable since these are former tube stock trains, so they might have these kind of absurdly overpowered physics in real life. It might just be... They might be too overpowered in game, I just don't know. Yeah. Having the running be... We'll be able to... So, yeah. As I said before, we'll be able to run these in their London Underground livery and state on Great West Express Remaster between Ealing Broadway and Paddington. I believe as part of the Hammersmith and City, and I want to say Circle Lines, I think? Yeah, I'm not too familiar on the London Underground. It's very technical. Yeah. We next stop Ryde Esplanade, and then there's... Yeah, Ryde Pier head has already come into view on the track monitor at the far end, at that red signal. I don't think we've had to deal with any AWS trips or DSD going off for the entire time. So yeah, this tunnel, the reason why former tube stock are used is because of this tunnel between Ryde St. John's Road and Ryde Esplanade. It is very tight, and yeah. The only trains that really work through, that really can fit in these tunnels, are former tube stock trains, so that's what were used, which makes a lot of sense. Also, what I also like about the Island Line is, it is a closed network in-game and in real life. There's only one type of train that you need to model. There's only, there's no branches apart from the Isle of Wight Steam Railway, but that's technically not part of, this line. It is an entirely separate railway line. Then also, yeah, you can do a full run in half an hour. It is, off camera, I've actually done quite a few runs on the Island Line, just because it is such a blast to drive. And I love how it doesn't require any other add-ons in order to layer on and make the rail scene feel a bit more realistic, which cannot be said for stuff like the Just Trains add-ons like Blackpool branches, Transport for Wales Pacer and West Coast Mainline Preston to Carlisle are great, and I do like them. They do require other add-ons to layer on in order to make the rail scene feel a bit more alive and busy if you just have the base stock. But this is just, there are no layers, none of that. I think, here's another major complaint I have about this route though. In real life, I think it's Portsmouth would be visible because it's just like 10 miles that way, and yet in game it's like you're looking into a vast blank ocean, which, needless to say, is unrealistic. But hey, it's not an immersion killer at the end of the day. Like, the route still functions without that scenery, but hey, it is what it is. Let's do notch 1. Ooh, wow. Next and final stop, Ryde Pier Head, the only station which I know of that goes onto a pier. That's, of course, a remnant of the days when the Isle of Wight Railway was much more extensive, and railways were much more vital to the island as a whole. So, yeah, the ferries would dock at the pier, and then you could transfer directly to trains and then access the admittedly pretty big network back in the day. Nowadays, you can still do that ferry transfer, but obviously the island lines, the Isle of Wight's railway network has substantially diminished down to just one line in active service and one heritage line. Which is a shame, but yeah, I do really like this line. I almost forgot to get a screenshot. Let's do it this way. 484002, you beauty. I do like getting pier shots. Oh, I should probably adjust the depth of field. Yes, and now crank the motion blur. Oh, that is... Oh, should adjust that slightly. There we go. Yeah, I do like... I do really like this line. As I said before, it's probably one of my like top 10 routes in the game. I bought it at full price and have not regretted it. Right, 15 mile an hour limit coming into the platform at Ryde Pier Head. What always really scares me is if a train ever becomes a runaway train, there's no buffer. It would just go smack through the buffer, through the building, and into the sea, which would be obviously not that good. Let's get the taillights set up for the next driver, and DRA on. Welcome to Ryde Pier Head. There was a platform 2, but that is not in use nowadays. Oh, before we lock the doors, here's the feature I was saying. You can actually, and I never knew this until Melbourne Train Guy mentioned this, you can actually do the windows yourself. Look at that! The only other train which you can do that on is the Transport for Wales Pacer by Just Trains, but while the windows on this don't open automatically, depending on temperature, the Transport for Wales Pacer windows will open themselves, which is pretty decent. Please give me a gold medal. Thank you. I wish Rivet would update this route to at least a new scoring system so I could get platinum. But anyway, that'll be all for this video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all. I almost said thank you all for watching twice. I've never done that before. Thank you. I almost said it a third time. Really need to get out of this habit. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.